You're listening to Flip Empire, the show committed to helping real estate entrepreneurs who want to build their empire without sacrificing their life. Your success and freedom starts now with your host, Alex Pardo.
How are you, my friend? What's going on, Flip Empire community? My name is Alex Pardo, and I am super pumped to be delivering episode 647 here on the podcast. And I'd like to continue on from the last podcast. So this is an opportunity to encourage you to make sure you listen to episode 646. I appreciate the love, the support, the feedback I've gotten on that episode and some of the others. And what I'd like to do is, because I have more people that are interested in kind of following the storage journey, I think it's been really intriguing to me what appeals to people about the transition that I've had from the single family space, running that business for 15, 16 years, and now transitioning and really focus on the storage asset class. And I think that comes from, the natural evolution for a lot of real estate investors is to graduate, for lack of a better word, from single family into commercial, right? Whether that's multifamily, which is really popular. Storage is an asset class that has really come on the last several years. I have several friends of mine who are pretty heavy into mobile home parks, and even a few that are into land development, retail, that kind of thing. Having said that, I also know people that they had a lot of clarity up front about what they wanted. They wanted a business that was location independent. They wanted a business that didn't have a lot of overhead. They wanted a business that fit their lifestyle, where they didn't have to hire a huge team. And I know people that pretty much got into real estate and jumped straight into commercial and are doing really well. But by and large, I find that most people start with single family and then eventually they graduate into commercial or not, or they continue to run a successful single family operation. But what I'd like to do is, because of a lot of the DMs, comments, text messages that I received about my Instagram story this weekend on Friday and Saturday, I want to kind of open up and share with you more details about our 2-day on-site due diligence visit at our new storage facility in Florida that we're purchasing. So just to kind of back you up, a good friend of mine, one of our Ascend clients and members, sent out some direct mail, and I ended up taking the call. One thing led to the other, really just super nice seller, very nice gentleman. Had the opportunity to connect with him, find out, about his storage facility and about their situation. And they were looking to sell. So over a period of 48, 72 hours, we were able to come to an agreement. We ended up getting that facility under contract. And within 36 hours, we were on a flight to go check out this facility. So a lot happened within that time period, from opening up escrow to ordering title and surveys and, filling out, getting some quotes on insurance, because obviously this facility is in Florida. And so we wanted to make sure our numbers weren't going to be affected. So, reaching out to insurance brokers and just lining up different things that have to happen for a storage closing. And there was a lot to pack in. So we were only going to be in town for a day and a half. And there's a lot of things that need to happen when you do an on-site due diligence, whether it's a multifamily property, a storage facility, or any big commercial asset. And so I got in I had the last flight of the day. I got in by the time I was in bed, it was 1:30 in the morning. It was 2:30 because of the excitement. 2:30, you fall asleep. And Bobby and I were at breakfast at 6 a.m., game planning, strategizing about all the different information we needed to collect, the people we needed to go out and meet, the relationships we wanted to establish. If you heard episode 646, you heard me talk about planting seeds and watering those seeds and nurturing and developing relationships. And a big part of these on-site storage due diligence visits are about making connections with people. The property manager, the accountant, if you're able to meet them, or whoever's handling the books, the boots on the ground person, the seller in some cases, your neighbors around the storage facility. And so I want to kind of open up and share with you what this day and a half of jam-packed activities and things that we had to do. So the first thing we did is, before we even arrived at the facility, we drove around the neighborhood. And we started to kind of get a feel for the area. We started to get a feel, and we were immediately encouraged by the fact that we could tell that there was a lot of there was money in this market, just based on some of just based on the buildings, based on some of the retail shops and some of the vendors that were in the area, just based in the neighborhood. You can tell this was a very, very, very nice area. And we just wanted to kind of get a sense. There was a really nice restaurant on the corner about, just a couple of buildings down from our storage facility, really nice brand new restaurant. There was a fire station nearby. I mean, we started to look at all these different signs that indicated, hey, this is a good market. Now, we already knew that going in, because that was uncovered as part of my underwriting, as part of the supply and demand in the area, the square foot per capita. That's really important when it comes to storage. You want to make sure that your facility is located in an area where there's more demand than there is supply, than there is more square footage per head, per person within that 5-mile radius. So we drove around, we were immediately encouraged, and then we got to the facility and we could tell the facility needed some love. Right? It needed there was some capital expenditures that we were probably going to have to incur, things that weren't as evident on Google Earth, Google Maps, some of the things that you can see online. I will tell you, it is one thing to step foot on a property, whether it's storage, single family, or any type of asset class really, but to step foot and actually immerse yourself there, get a feel for it, that's completely different than just seeing something on Google. Because on Google, you can get a pretty good sense. Don't get me wrong. I've bought plenty of property. In fact, I've probably bought more property that I haven't been to that I have been to. But with this type of purchase, it's probably not anything I would ever recommend doing unseen, or at least having somebody on your team go do the on-site due diligence. So we got there and we immediately started to see that there were some things that we were probably going to have to do. Now the question became, and that answer was uncovered by the end of the visit, were these things that we needed to do immediately that were going to have a direct impact on raising rents and generating more revenue and ultimately boosting our NOI, our net operating income? Or were these going to be things that we could punt on, that we could do at some point, but didn't necessarily had to be done immediately in an effort to improve the revenue and increase the NOI? So we met with the lady there that had an office, and super nice lady. I think one of the things I could not emphasize more is to just quickly establish rapport with not just the ultimate decision makers, but their staff. I have been in situations where I've seen real estate investors treat the decision maker one way and then go around and treat their staff or treat the other people around them not nearly as good, let's say. In some situations, like crap. Oftentimes, it causes them not to get the deal, and that's good. They deserve it. Don't treat one person better than the other one just because this person's a decision maker and this person's not. Treat everybody with respect. Treat everybody the way that you'd want to be treated. That's just kind of a golden rule in life, right? Do unto others as you'd want them to do unto you. And so I could just tell we quickly built rapport with this sweet lady that really just opened up. And initially she walked us around the facility. God bless her, because we had a lot of questions for her, as we should, right? We had a long checklist of things that we needed to find out about the facility, about the way that the property was managed, about the financials in the books, about the repairs that have been done. When was the last time there was a hurricane? How did it potentially affect the facility? I mean, has there ever been a fire? Any insurance claims? I mean, I'm just off the top of my head throwing at you some of the questions we asked her. And she was just an open book. And I think part of the reason, A, that's just her. She was a really sweet lady and just an open book. But B, we made her feel very comfortable. It was a very non-threatening meeting. We established some rapport. We found out about her life outside of the facility a little bit and just kind of tried to build a friendship with her, a genuine friendship, not because we were looking to extract information, even though we were. And she understood that was the reason we were there. But she walked us around the facility and we got a real good sense for, again, what repairs needed to be done, for the condition of the property. We started to see some of the tenants going in and out, and we got a general sense for what type of tenant base we might have there. And then one of the things that Bobby and I were doing while we were there is we were immediately seeing the opportunity that existed, and we immediately were identifying and discussing the challenges that were in front of us. And so that was uncovered pretty quickly. Once we walked around the facility with her for about 45 minutes or so, and we asked her some questions, we sat down, meeting continued, and then we had already provided her with our checklist, with a list of the things that were included in the purchase agreement that we needed to get as part of our due diligence period. And while she was collecting a lot of those documents, we went around the facility just ourselves and we started discussing, hey, what would we do different? How would we run and operate this? Where do we see opportunity? Again, what are some of the challenges and how are we going to overcome some of those things? We got the opportunity to speak to a handful of tenants and, again, very non-threatening, just to kind of get a sense for what's been their experience at the facility. How long have they been renting there? What were some of the things they liked? What were some of the things they didn't like? And so we got a really good sense for the tenant base there. We got a good sense for how it was run, the strengths, the weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, right? The classic SWOT analysis that you might learn in business management school. Within 2-3 hours there, we got a really good sense for where we were at. And then we went out to lunch. And again, we were talking about the partnership, different things that we brought to the table and making sure our visions were aligned, which we already knew they were before even heading out there. But basically just talking about the deal structure and how to divide roles and responsibilities. And were we going to have third-party management or were we going to bring somebody in-house? All these different types of things that as we move forward with this deal, we can talk about in an upcoming episode. But after that, one of the things we did was we started lining up appointments. So prior to going there, I had reached out to a couple of different roofers and successfully we lined up an appointment with a roofer who went out there and inspected all the roofs. We had a really good conversation with him about that. And so we also, during lunch, we started reaching out to general contractors and handymen that we found on Google. And when we would connect with someone, we would ask for referrals. So by the end of the day, we had met with a roofer and we had met with an actual general contractor that had been in the area for 25 years, was very familiar with the facility. So we're in the process of getting quotes, getting reports and things of that nature that's really going to help us moving forward. And then what was extremely beneficial about the first day is that we had the opportunity to meet with some of the neighbors, meet with some of the other local businesses, and we just got so much valuable information about the market, about the street that we were on, some of the history about the street. Honestly, driving around the entire area, our street was one of the nicer, and also it had some real estate. It had some old houses on there, and we saw the regentrification that was going on our specific street. We saw a lot of beautiful 3- and 4-story vacation rental properties going up. We found out that one of the local businesses had purchased out a bunch of acres there and eventually were planning on developing. So we got a lot of valuable information. The second day was, honestly, had our on-site due diligence period ended after day one, it would have been successful. But one of the things we also did before we left was we started visiting our local competitors. So we stopped by some of the facilities and we built relationships in some cases with some of the owners and the operators. In fact, one of them was a lead that, the gentleman's thinking of selling and we feel like it could be a good opportunity there. We got updated street rates. Right? What were some of our competitors charging? So one of the things that's super important is to be able to prove the market street rates. And we did that by finding out, one of the ways that we did that prior to purchasing it is by finding out that most of our competitors were full and they were charging significantly more than the facility we're buying. So that was really encouraging. And what I want to do here is I want to pause because I think there's going to be a continuation to this story. And there's going to be more that I'm going to be able to share with you. This podcast episode was by no means meant to be a comprehensive list of everything you need to do on an on-site visit, because I realize that you might be listening to this and you're not a storage investor. You're not looking for those types of opportunities. But what I want you to do is read between the lines with what I'm sharing. And I don't even need you to do that because I'm just going to tell you. The reason this was successful was because we planned, we communicated, we were very organized. We had a specific goal or reason we were going there. We knew what we wanted to accomplish. And then at the end of the day, the reason this was a huge success was because of relationships. Relationship with my partner, relationship with the lady that we met with, that we were able to build, relationship with the vendors, right? The roofer, the GC, the tenants that we were able to meet, the business owners in the area. We just aimed to build relationships. And then it was also great for Bobby and I, who again is part of our Ascend community and has become a friend and somebody who I've had the good fortune of coaching. It was cool to connect, and it was cool to, we went to a really nice steakhouse on the first night. And I just had a lot of laughs and a lot of really good conversation about life, about family, about spirituality, about business, about storage, of course. So it was just great kind of fellowship, and we got closer together, and really just excited about the prospects and the opportunity moving forward. So hopefully you got something out of this episode. Stay tuned for more information. But next week, I got just an awesome guest who is going to be on the podcast, somebody who also happens to be a storage investor and has experienced a lot of success quickly out of the gates, but just somebody who has just an eye and a brilliance for marketing. So make sure to tune in to next week's episode. It's going to be a 2-part episode with him. And with that being said, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. And we've had quite a few people. Steve and I have been knocking out interviews about Ascend. So I genuinely appreciate your interest in wanting to learn more about our mastermind community. AscendYourSuccess.com would be the place to go, AscendYourSuccess.com. And other than that, that's going to be a wrap on today's podcast. Have an incredible day. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. Take care. One last thing before you go. If you have been listening to the show for a while and or you have been getting value from the show, I would be 100% honored if you would share this show with a friend, or maybe share it with somebody that you think could benefit from this. It's my mission, it's my cause, it's my purpose through Flip Empire to impact and touch people's lives, to help people and in their businesses. So it would be an honor if you would be willing to share this episode. And one last thing, make sure that you're subscribed so that you get notified every Monday and Thursday when shows get released. I look forward to connecting with you on the next one. Until then, have a great day.